was never really good playing role of the puppet. Too busy being me to be concerned with perception of the public. Everyone is buzzing, but everybody ain't thinking about a budget. I want ownership in something. Niggas get
Nathan Christopher Charles Summers is a character appearing in American comic books published by Marvel Comics, commonly in association with X-Force and the X-Men. The child Nathan first appeared as a newborn infant in the Uncanny X-Men number 201, January 1986, created by writer Chris Claremont and penciler Rick Lenardi, while the adult warrior Cable was created by writer Louise Simonson and artist co-writer Rob Liefeld, and first appeared in the New Mutants number 87, March 1990. Initially, Cable's origin was undecided, and he was assumed to be a separate character. It was later decided that he was actually an older version of the child Nathan, having later become a time traveler. Cable is one of my favorite characters from the animated series. But what X-Men 97 is doing with the backstory of Cable, from him being born in the present, and Mr. Sinister infecting Cable with the techno-organic virus resulting in Bishop taking him to the future to save him, is awesome. Nathan Summers is the son of the X-Men member Cyclops, Scott Summers, and his first wife Madeline Pryor, Jean Grey's clone. This makes him the half-brother of Rachel Summers, a child of Scott and Jean from the Days of Future Past timeline. And Nate Gray, a child created from Scott and Jean's DNA from the timeline of the Age of Apocalypse storyline. The mutant terrorist Strife is a clone of Cable and one of his deadliest enemies. Cable is also the adoptive father of Hope Summers. Born in the present day, Nathan was infected with a deadly techno-organic virus while still an infant. He was sent into a possible future timeline where he could be treated and live his life. In this future world, Nathan grew into the warrior Cable and became an enemy of the villain Apocalypse. He later returned to the present-day era, initially arriving some years before his own birth. Since making his home in the modern era, he has worked alongside the X-Men, including Cyclops and Jean Grey, and reformed the New Mutants group into the original X-Force. He had frequent battles against the near-invincible assassin Deadpool, who later became an on-again, off-again ally for years. In the 2018 Extermination miniseries, Cable was killed and replaced by a younger, time-displaced version of himself, who decided that the older one was ineffective in his crusade. This younger Cable, sometimes called Kid Cable, operated until 2021, when the original, older iteration was revived. Cable, son of the first X-Man Cyclops and Madeline Pryor, Nathan's maternally inherited powers manifested at a young age. The circumstances of his birth were machinated by Mr. Sinister to create a living weapon against Apocalypse, which resulted in his mother's descent into madness and death after learning her place in this plot as a clone of his eventual stepmother, founding X-Man Jean Grey. During this ordeal, baby Nathan was infected with the techno-organic virus and sent into a post-apocalyptic future where he could be saved. Raised in this future as Nathan Dayspring, the Ascani Zon, destined to kill Apocalypse in the clan Ascani religion, Nathan became a hardened warrior and brilliant tactician. During his teen years, Nathan returned to the past and reconnected with his parents and older sister Rachel on the budding mutant nation of Krakoa, but eventually returned to his adopted future to thwart Strife, his own radical terrorist clone. After decades of struggle, Nathan traveled further back to a period closest to his original departure and formed the Six Pack to continue the battle. He also joined the New Mutants as their leader and eventually reformed the team into the militaristic X-Force. Now dedicated to the current time period, Cable sought to better the future of both mankind and mutant kind, for he had seen the result of not doing so firsthand. Cable took it upon himself to protect and train the messianic first mutant born after M-Day, adopting her as Hope Summers. Eventually, Cable reached the point in time he resided in as a teenager and joined his loved ones on Krakoa once again, taking his younger self's place as Chief Security Officer of SW-Ord. Nathan Summers is a powerful mutant telepath and telekinetic who has been fighting in wars most of his life as the time-traveling soldier called Cable. The son of the first X-Man Cyclops and Madeline Pryor, Nathan's maternally inherited powers manifested at a young age. The circumstances of his birth were machinated by Mr. Sinister to create a living weapon against Apocalypse, which resulted in his mother's descent into madness and death after learning her place in this plot as a clone of his eventual stepmother, founding X-Man Jean Grey. During this ordeal, baby Nathan was infected with the Techno-organic virus and sent to a post-apocalyptic future where he could be saved. Raised in this future as Nathan Dayspring, the Ascani-san, destined to kill Apocalypse in the clan Ascani religion, Nathan became a hardened warrior and brilliant tactician. During his teen years, Nathan returned to the past and reconnected with his parents and older sister Rachel on the budding mutant nation of Krakoa, but eventually returned to his adopted future to thwart Strife, his own radical terrorist clone. After decades of struggle, Nathan traveled further back to a period closest to his original departure and formed the Six Pack to continue the battle. He also joined the New Mutants as their leader and eventually reformed the team into the militaristic X-Force. Now dedicated to the current time period, Cable sought to better the future of both mankind and mutant kind, for he had seen the result of not doing so firsthand. Cable took it upon himself to protect and train the messianic first mutant born after M-Day, adopting her as Hope Summers. Eventually, Cable reached the point in time he resided in as a teenager and joined his loved ones on Krakoa once again, taking his younger self's place as Chief Security Officer of SUOD. Cable's destiny was planned before his parents even met. Geneticist Mr. Sinister found that a union between the X-Men Scott Summers, Cyclops, and Jean Grey, Marvel Girl, would produce a powerful genetically superior mutant. Sinister hoped he could control such a mutant and use it to defeat his immortal adversary Apocalypse. Around this time, Jean's form and consciousness was replaced by the reckless cosmic Phoenix Force, while she healed from radiation poison in a cocoon at the bottom of Jamaica Bay. Sinister created a clone of Jean and named her Madeline Pryor. Sinister's plan was to produce the child he needed from the union of Madeline and Scott. Sinister considered his clone a failure until a spark from the Phoenix Force granted Madeline a life force and some of Jean's memories. Sinister crafted a false background for her and arranged for her to meet Scott as a pilot for Scott's grandparents. Scott was instantly drawn to Madeline because she strongly resembled his true love, Jean. They quickly married. Madeline later became pregnant and had a son, who she named Nathan Christopher Charles Summers. Early childhood years, baby Nathan's alternate reality teenage half-sister Rachel Summers created a psi-bond with him, while promising to protect him and always be there for him. After losing leadership of the X-Men, Scott retired from the X-Men, and together he and Madeline raised the child in Anchorage, Alaska. Over time, Scott and Madeline's marriage became strained. Madeline resented the fact that Scott was rarely home and that he continued to miss Jean. Everything worsened when Jean was discovered alive. Scott left little Nathan and Madeline to reunite with Jean and the other founding members of the X-Men in New York to form a new team called X-Factor. Hearing of Jean's return, Mr. Sinister sent his marauders to capture Nathan and to kill Madeline before she could be exposed as a clone. Madeline survived and came into the care of the X-Men, while Sinister took Nathan to his secret lab hidden under the state home for foundlings, the orphanage in Nebraska where Nathan's father had grown up. There, Sinister experimented on Nathan. Sinister was thorough and erased all records of Nathan and Madeline's existence. Scott later returned to Alaska to reconcile with his family, but there was no trace of them except for a baby toy he found left behind in their old home. Scott believed Madeline had moved away with the baby. While staying with the X-Men, Madeline learned the reason why Scott had abandoned her and slowly lost herself to the dark side of her personality. Madeline agreed to help the demons Sim and Nastor create a link between demon-infested dimension of Limbo and Earth in exchange for baby Nathan. Madeline became aware of her powers and began calling herself the Goblin Queen. The precognitive mutant destiny pointed Scott and Jean to Sinister's lab, where they found Nathan and many other children in incubation pods. While attempting to rescue Nathan, Scott and Jean battled Nanny and Orphan Maker, who were attempting to kidnap mutant children to safeguard them. Somehow a telepathic link between Nathan and Jean was opened. demons escaped with Nathan, and he and 9 other kidnapped infants were teleported to Times Square. Sinister, using the babies as the points of an inverted pentagram, tried to keep a portal open, but the portal was closed by the combined efforts of the Exterminators and the New Mutants. When his father arrived to rescue him, Nathan was taken back to his mother at the orphanage. Mr. Sinister had revealed Madeline's true origins to her. Blaming Scott and Jean for the misery in her life, she intended to use Nathan and the other 9 mutant babies atop the Empire State Building as a sacrifice in her effort to reopen another portal. After the defeat of Sinister, the Goblin Queen locked herself, Nathan, and Jean inside a barrier.
Madeline killed herself and locked Jean into a mental bond, hoping to take her down with her. Jean reintegrated the portions of her life force that had gone from the Phoenix Force to Madeline. In doing so, Jean also received Madeline's memories, including those of raising young Nathan. Nathan was taken to X Factor's sentient celestial ship, where he was cared for by Scott and Jean. Scott decided to take Nathan with him on missions. Nathan's other mutant powers began to manifest, as he could form a protective telekinetic force bubble around himself. The Riders of the Storm kidnapped Nathan and took him to Apocalypse's base on the blue area of the moon. Before Nathan could be rescued by X Factor, Apocalypse infected him with a techno-organic virus that was rapidly spreading liquid metal and organic steel through his body and, if not stopped, would kill him. SHIP created a protective electromagnetic field and merged with Nathan's electrical parts to keep him alive. A visitor from 2,000 years in the future, Sister Ascani of the clan Ascani, appeared to Cyclops. She had sacrificed her physical body to become energy and claimed that Nathan would become a savior in her time. Sister Ascani promised the clan would cure him of the virus in the future. However, she would be unable to make another time jump, trapping Nathan in the future. Cyclops chose to save his son's life and gave him up, believing that he would never see him again. Upon arriving in this future Earth ruled by Apocalypse and his Canaanite army, Nathan was given to Mother Ascani, a time-displaced version of his sister, Rachel Summers. The clan Ascani worshipped Nathan as the prophesied Dayspring and Ascani-san. Mother Ascani placed Nathan in an incubation crib to preserve his life, but the virus had progressed too far. The only thing keeping the child alive was the acts of SHIP. Fearing that Nathan would not survive, Mother Ascani had him cloned. Despite their original assessments, the Ascani learned that the original child would live after all. Just then, the Canaanites attacked the base. Nathan was safely removed before they nearly killed Mother Ascani and began the massacre of the clan Ascani. Apocalypse himself claimed the cloned child, whom he believed to be the original Nathan Summers, who he had infected centuries earlier. Apocalypse raised the child and called him Strife, planning to use him as a vessel the next time Apocalypse needed a new host body. Badly wounded, Mother Ascani brought Scott and Jean into the future to protect Nathan. At this point in their lives, they were married and had learned Cable was Nathan's future self and had begun to mend their relationship with him. Apocalypse's prelate Shavire captured the true Nathan. Scott, Jean, and Mother Ascani successfully rescued Nathan, but Shavire severely wounded Mother Ascani, leaving her in a coma. Under the aliases of Red and Slim Dayspring, Jean and Scott raised Nathan together while Rachel was lying in a coma, alive by machines. They never told Nathan Dayspring of their true origins, or his, and never stayed in one place for too long. They began Nathan's training in the hope he would become Cable, and eventually fulfill his destiny by overthrowing Apocalypse. The techno-organic virus had already spread to the left side of Nathan's body, giving him a cybernetic appearance. At 8 years old, Nathan met Strife during a clan rebellion raid on Apocalypse's citadel in Crest Coast. Surprised at their resemblance, Strife was defeated by Nathan. His sister Rachel telepathically spoke to Nathan from her coma and helped him destroy a virus designed by Apocalypse. After years of remission, Nathan's techno-organic virus suddenly began to flare up, and he went into a coma as his condition was deemed terminal. Slim watched over Nathan day and night. Mother Ascani, appearing as young Rachel Summers, telepathically formally introduced herself to Nathan. Rachel explained to him that he was potentially the most powerful mutant ever, and that, if he sacrificed the maximum use of his telekinesis daily, he could contain the virus. The day came when Apocalypse was ready to make Strife his new host, and Red, Slim, and Nathan were there to stop him. After Nathan, Red, and Slim attacked Apocalypse, the disillusioned Chevalier betrayed his master, distracting him, and Slim ordered Nathan to disrupt any telepathic links between Apocalypse and Strife, seemingly killing Apocalypse. At that moment, Mother Ascani began to die, and Red disappeared. Slim realized that he too would be sent back to his time and would be forced to abandon his son for the second time in his life. Wanting to say so much, could only promise Nathan that he would never be alone. Chevalier took Strife into his care and warned Nathan that followers of Apocalypse would search for him. Nathan left on his own to restore the dream that Apocalypse tried to destroy. Years passed. A new dictatorship arose in Apocalypse's place, the New Canaanites. Madame Sanctity turned the remains of the Ascani into the Ascani Sisterhood. Nathan traveled on his own and grudgingly attended secret Ascani revivals, where he met Tetherblood. After Nathan spoke out at a meeting, he was imprisoned by Stratter Umbridge. His techno-organic virus infection worsened. Blacksmith, a member of Clan Ascani, broke into his cell and extracted a glowing orb from the metallic flesh of Nathan's chest. The orb was Ship's AI, which, forgetting its past, could control electronic devices and began to call itself Professor. Nathan kept the Professor as an ally. After Stratter Umbridge realized that it was Nathan who had defeated Apocalypse, she sent guards. Blacksmith seemingly sacrificed himself so Nathan and Tetherblood could escape, telepathically telling Nathan to find the remaining members of the Clan Ascani. After arriving in Ebonshire, Nathan battled the Dagon and was saved from death by Aaliyah, who he immediately fell for. After battling the insectoid Loci, Aaliyah took Nathan back to Madame Sanctity and he asked to learn the ways of the Ascani. Even though Nathan was a male, Sanctity ordered Aaliyah to instruct him because he was the Ascani-Zon. After the New Canaanites attacked, Nathan saved Aaliyah and he began to lose control of his techno-organics in front of her. During the battle, Madame Sanctity was seemingly killed, but had actually joined with Strife. Nathan, Aaliyah, and Tetherblood promised to build a rebellion against the New Canaanite tyranny. Ripple effects of time began having an effect on the reality, causing the deaths of Tetherblood and Aaliyah. Nathan was informed by Blacksmith that his older self's inability to protect the timeline and not returning the time-displaced original X-Men to their proper time was causing this. Nathan also learned from Blacksmith that Scott Summers and Jean Grey were his parents and had raised him disguised as Slim and Red Dayspring. With this knowledge, he traveled back in time to accomplish what his older self could not. With the help of Paul Dweck, Nathan used a phoenix cage to resurrect his father, Cyclops, and kept him hidden inside Professor. As they traveled to the present, where Cable killed his older self, coming into conflict with the X-Men and Ahab while he gathered the time-displaced X-Men and returned them to the past to ensure that the Prime Marvel Universe's timeline would avoid an apocalyptic future and his own timeline would be restored.
In the depths of the X-Men universe, Cable's origin story continues to unfold. As we delve deeper into Cable's character development, we witness the intense evolution of this enigmatic figure. From the Phoenix Force to the Techno-organic virus, Cable's journey is fraught with challenges and sacrifices. Nathan Summers, a child caught in the midst of cosmic forces, embarks on a path that will shape his destiny. As his mutant powers manifest and the techno-organic virus threatens his life, Nathan's resilience and potential begin to shine through. Guided by the mysterious Sister Ascani, Nathan is thrust into a future ruled by Apocalypse, where he is hailed as the prophesied Dayspring. Amidst betrayal and danger, Nathan's true journey begins as he navigates a world torn by conflict and uncertainty. As Nathan's powers grow and the shadow of Apocalypse looms large, a new identity emerges, Cable. With the support of his parents, Scott and Jean, Cable embarks on a mission to defy fate and challenge the tyrannical rule of Apocalypse. Facing adversaries and allies alike, Cable's journey takes unexpected turns as he confronts his past and embraces his future. With the fate of mutant kind hanging in the balance, Cable must harness his full potential to shape a new destiny.